interesting the word he used. Let's play the bite.
I'd like to say that it was a proactive statement, but it really just worked out that way. We obviously felt comfortable with Baker, have felt comfortable with Baker for a long period of time.
Comfortable? Somebody asked my wife, how's your marriage? Oh, I'm comfortable. Kind of sounds like it's cool for now. It was fine. I'm comfortable. Maybe I'm making too much of it, but comfortable is, we'll pick up his fifth-year option. Now, it should be noted, Baker is 6-14 against winning teams. Winning teams are hard to beat. Nobody goes undefeated against winning teams. But he is 14-4 as a pro when he's been asked to throw it 30 or fewer times, and 10-18 when he's asked to throw it over 30 times. They're a better football team when he is reined in a little. But it is interesting to listen to the general managers in Baker's division talk about their quarterbacks. This is the Ravens general manager here.
The guy that's going to be here. We love him. He's really the face of this team right now in many different ways. He's the leader. He's a good player. And he's our quarterback. So we will work tirelessly to get a deal done.
Love him. Work tirelessly. What do you think about Baker? We're comfortable. Pick up his fifth-year option. Am I reaching there?
No, there's two different tones entirely.
Tirelessly, love, comfortable. I don't want to go anywhere, but it's people tell you what they think. They're just all right. Chris Webber, 15 years, just got into the Hall of Fame. He was a 5-time All-NBA player, Rookie of the Year, back-to-back NCAA championship game appearances, and just got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he is now joining us live. First of all, Chris, the Hall of Fame stuff. Let's just get to the Hall of Fame stuff because, a lot of players, you don't want to talk about Hall of Fame when you're playing. You don't want to set yourself up. But when you're sitting there at the podium and you're a Hall of Famer, where did it take you back to? Your childhood? What did you think the minute you found out, Chris, you're in the Hall?
The minute I found out, I thought to tell my father. Because, growing up, I'm a mama's boy and a daddy's son. I just thought, Colin, tell my father. And just to share that with him, just as a son, was awesome. And then my mind went to the first couple of times you played, the first time you dunk, things like that. And then, it goes through every step, going to, playing, in college or playing in high school, winning championships, playing in college, getting to play with, the great Michigan teams and the Fab Five there, going to Golden State and meeting Chris Mullin and living the dream, playing for that team and, the ups, the downs. And then finally, Sacramento, in my mind, really, being the place that just everything came together. And so, it starts with, your father and the one you started dreaming with and telling your dreams, then to friends, and then kind of just quiet moments to yourself, just thinking, wow, I had a fun ride.
It's going to be a really interesting playoff because it's a condensed schedule. So last year's the bubble, and it was a very strange playoff where young teams, actually, for the first time in my life, were better than old teams. Usually veteran teams crushing the playoffs. And then this year you have a condensed schedule where you're asking veteran players to have basically no offseason, more injuries, more guys taking time off. Jimmy Butler barely played against the good teams in the East. So the Milwaukee-Miami series, to me, I think to myself, well, the last 2 years when Jimmy Butler has played, Miami's won 65% of their games. They probably have a coaching advantage in this series. Can Miami beat Milwaukee? Is that our first big playoff upset in your opinion?
Miami definitely can beat Milwaukee. We've seen, kind of who Miami is all year. And then, we see what the evolution once the playoffs start. But I think Milwaukee, this year, Milwaukee's under the radar. And I think they're happy to be under the radar. I don't think necessarily Giannis didn't want an MVP, but, he has the kind of the target on everyone else's back now. And Milwaukee still is a really good team. And I think that they'd rather be in the position of being the hunter than the hunted. So I do actually give Milwaukee the advantage in the playoffs this year over others because I think they can sneak up on teams as opposed to years past.
Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. So last year, I fell for it. I liked the Clippers. I liked their talent. I really did. I was all in. And it was funny because I had different people saying, dude. They have no chemistry. They're not good late in games. The playoffs are about late in games. And then you watch them unravel, and I'm like, man, I fell for it. And then I watch Brooklyn. No chemistry. I know they're talented, but you tell me, you haven't played a ton of games together. You're going to be facing teams that match up well with you. Philly in their size, Milwaukee in their size, Miami could be. Can you see this team getting into the playoffs and suddenly they face crisis and kind of unraveling a little bit?
So first of all, I fell for it as well with the Clippers. So I'm with you. I can't judge as well. But I wish I had kind of one of your examples of parables here. But I'm with them playing and winning because of a couple of things. How it came together. Like a lot of times, I don't think the chemistry is being together every day. I think chemistry is, how did you make the decision to come together? Like, what was the commitment? What was that moment, that defining moment when you all said, we're going to do this? Because to me, once you do that, you live on that commitment all year. And I think Harden, the way he's playing, I think we know he's the connector on this team. Kyrie having some of the best numbers he's ever had. And, Durant playing the way that he has. I believe in this team because of the individual decision of each individual, the decision-making of each individual to come together. And I just don't think that, I think they each have so much to play for. Even when you look at Blake Griffin, I've always liked the teams of underdogs that everyone left out. Well, this isn't that group, but they've been kind of treated that way individually, and they play with that mentality. And that's why, more than anything, I think they can come out the East. I think they have just as much incentive as guys that have never won a championship, even though two of those guys do.
The other team that, C-Web, that interests me is the Clippers. So Steve Ballmer buys the team for $2 billion. He wants out of the Laker building. He spends $2 billion for a new arena. He goes out. They sign Kawhi, Paul George. He's very well known. He's very enthusiastic. He's like Mark Cuban first couple years in the league. He is fist pumping. And last year was kind of humiliating. And then this year, Chris, what's really interesting, there's all these ex-Clippers. Tobias Harris and Doc in Philly could crush. Chris Paul Phoenix could crush. Montrezl Harrell and the Lakers, same building, could crush. And I think to myself, man, this could, if they don't beat Dallas, this could get ugly. I mean, have you ever felt from the owner or the front office in your career, you felt the pressure in the building when you walked into a playoff series?
Yeah, you did. But truthfully, at the places that I had that maybe didn't have the history as others, I would talk to KG like I wanted to feel the pressure of, Bill Russell and Archibald at the game and all those banners. And so I think there are a couple of different type of pressures. There's a different pressure to be a Patriot, a New England Patriot than it may be to, a Detroit Lions. So I think that kind of, plays into it. But, the one thing I say about sports is it's the most fair venue because it's unfair to everyone. And even though he's my Country Day alumni in high school and he's one of the most enthusiastic fans and people for the sport, you're still going to get your heart broken at times. And yeah, they could lose in the first round to Dallas. Wouldn't Doncic have something to prove? We thought he was going to be the MVP. So for guys like that, I look at the incentive on the other side. Kawhi kind of hasn't totally bought in yet. Is he coming back? Is he not? The new arena. You're right. This is a new type of pressure and a pressure to start a legacy. So, I'm sure the guys are feeling it, but I think more so than anything, they're feeling the embarrassment of last year. Paul is feeling, with guys kind of the disrespect. He's coming into that. Kawhi's kind of feeling left out because he came here to win a championship and no one's talking about him in that way anymore. So, I think they're feeling a different type of pressure and we're going to see who they are come playoff time.
So I look at LeBron and the Lakers, and LeBron saying I'm not 100%, and AD can be a little brittle. Schroeder's been very hot and cold. So is Kuzma. You're not exactly sure what you get. And yet you go to the sports gaming places, they're all like, Lakers should win it. And, I mean, I don't know. It feels like they're so close to having another injury. When you look at the Lakers, do you go into this playoff with confidence, or do you go in with trepidation?
I go in with trepidation. But I want to, if we go back, and it's all about LeBron's injury. That's the only thing. I'm telling you, Colin, the worst injury I've had, and I've had microfracture, knee surgeries, and I've had more serious injury, but the one that could have the most impact while you're playing and allowed to play is a high ankle sprain. Period. You can't move, you can't